So Bill C-7 that deals with the expansion of eligibility for medical assistance in dying has passed its third reading of the standing committee, and now it has been presented and it's being discussed line by line by the Senate. And I was asked to represent the Canadian Conference of Bishops as an intervener, a responder to the Senate, with a number of other groups, those representing people with disabilities, the Christian Legal Fellowship, the Catholic Medical Association. So each of us tried to explain to the senators the concern that we had, that, taking out or not having reasonable foreseeable death, and expanding that criteria was creating a situation where people who, because of circumstances in their life, would maybe see this as a choice or an option. And we said that this isn't the intention of Canadian society to administer death to people, but really to try and help them to see that their life does have dignity, and that we need to respond in other ways by providing support either medically or socially in terms of housing. So I got a sense that the senators realized the complexity of this bill and the implications of expanding the eligibility. At the same time, they also expressed the importance of meeting the deadline of December 18th, which was established by the Truchon case that was a lower court case in Quebec. And it really mystified the Canadian bishops, and I think the Canadian public, is that the government didn't sort of take this to the Supreme Court. They didn't sort of want to oppose that lower court ruling. And then, coupled with the fact that there has been minimal consultation, except now that it's been presented in the Parliament and is going through the normal parliamentary process, but a 2-week survey was hardly anything that one could sort of maybe justify to say that that's a sample or an understanding of the Canadian public. And I also pointed out that most recently there's been new surveys by Angus Reid that are showing a different understanding of the Canadian population concerning this expansion of medical assistance in dying. So with all of that information, we were trying to make the case to the Senate was to try and delay this bill and allow for greater consultation, a greater understanding of the impact that it would have, especially on communities like the disability. So that's where this bill is at. The other bill, C-6, which is on conversion therapy, is at its second reading. And so it's going before a standing committee of the Justice and Equity. And here there are parliamentarians, so MPs, who form standing committees to also receive responses, interveners concerned with the bill itself. And so again, we as a Catholic Church realize, the bill wants to protect those from coercive therapy or coercive practices that would want to change somebody's identity. And of course, we support the intention of that. But the definition of conversion therapy is so broad, and the use of terms such as practice, therapy, and service without being qualified becomes very problematic, especially when it's a criminal bill. It's one that would criminalize certain activity, and here the government has chosen not to be very specific about what these involves. Mm-hmm. So the potential implication is that it could apply to conversations of pastoral counseling with counselors or teachers. It could also be interpreted as conversations among family members and maybe parents with children. So we really see it as potentially affecting religious freedom and also freedom of conscience. So this has been the perspective of the CCCB intervening. And again, I hope that we've been making a very clear and very reasonable intervention. to realize that the bill can be improved and that it can't be as broad as what they intend, and to make it more specific by not encroaching on rights that involve religious expression and also freedom of conscience. So it's been quite an interesting couple of weeks for myself to be involved in this process and to see our democratic, our parliamentary, our Senate at work. And I can only say that I hope that by being part of the dialogue, by being someone who witnesses to aspects of our faith, but especially the truth and the dignity of our human persons, especially with regard to medical assistance in dying, I just hope that those individuals are listening, and hopefully there will be some change in the legislation that's proposed. What we're starting to see is that they are beginning to use language that begins to qualify the definition of conversion therapy. So the introduction of words such as coercive and systematic practices and services that are designed to change a person's identity. The fact that they're also recognizing that this doesn't extend to conversations of exploratory nature to assist people who maybe are struggling with aspects of behavior or actions and are trying to seek help and counseling that are destructive to them. So as I've been watching the debate and the discussion at the standing committee, one would begin to think that they are seeing that the legislation as it is present in its present text does need to be made more specific because it's ambiguous, it's very vague, and so therefore I think that these interventions are meeting with an appreciation and understanding that yes, this can be improved, and in doing so it's still going to meet the intention of not allowing for therapies and practices which are coercive that go against the very dignity of a human person. Again, my hope and my prayer that many of our Albertans, our Catholics, have responded in that way. And I hope even by maybe watching this video, if some haven't, it's not too late to make your voice known. And that's simply what we as the Alberta bishops have been asking you to do.